I tell the story of a more beautiful world in all its dimensions. And part of that story, I phrase it to phrase it in a succinct way, I say, it's the story of the connected self, living in co-creative partnership with Lover Earth, and no longer Mother Earth. And that takes a little explanation. Do you want me to go into that?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we had this period of growth as a human species, of which the money system that we've known was a part. And so we grew and we grew and we grew and we took and we took and we took from the planet, just as a child receives from the parents. And I'm a parent, you know, and I don't even really want my kids to worry about if they're receiving too much. You know, that's not their job. Their job is to receive. And they don't need to think, oh, am I eating too much? You know, is dad going to have trouble providing me all this food? I don't want them to think that. I want them to eat according to their needs. And that has been our relationship to Mother Earth. We've had this sense of entitlement, which everybody decries now, but perhaps it was right and proper during the childhood of humanity. So I think what's happening now is that humanity is entering into adulthood, and the crises that are converging together at our time, you know, not just the financial or economic crisis, but an energy crisis, healthcare crisis, ecological crisis, soil, water, et cetera, et cetera. These are, in a way, they're the coming of age ordeal that one must pass through to enter a state of adulthood. And when you enter, so when you go through this time when physical growth stops, your relationship to the other, your love relationships, they change. I mean, you still, you know, love your parents, but something new happens. You fall in love. And the relationship between the beloved is different. The relationship with the beloved is different than the relationship with a parent. You don't just desire to just receive and receive and receive. You also desire to give. And I think that's why I'm talking about Lover Earth, where, I mean, maybe, you know, and this only goes as far as it goes. I mean, we still, in a way, it'll always be Mother Earth. But there's this new concept of Lover Earth, where we desire to give back to the earth also. And the second part is that we desire to enter into a co-creative partnership, because that's something else that happens with the beloved. You know, you want to create something together, maybe a family or maybe something else, you know, something that's beautiful. So this is the big context of the new story. It's the connected self, and living in co-creative partnership with Lover Earth. And so the connected self gives us intuitions that are contrary to the axioms of money. In the old age, money was, well, like Adam Smith, you know, the economic man. A basic axiom of economics is that human beings act to maximize their rational self-interest. So my natural inclination then is to take from you. I mean, more for me is going to be less for you. More for you is less for me. We're in competition. My natural desire is to accumulate more and more for myself. And it's not just in economics, it's in biology too, the selfish gene. This sense of ourselves as being separate from each other, separate from the world. Therefore, having relationships, but not actually depending in an existential way on other people and other beings. The connected self is a very, very different story of self and a different sense of self, where it's no longer, you know, two separate beings having a relationship, but in some sense, like, my very being depends on everything else in creation. And this is something we can feel, like we know this in our hearts. When another species goes extinct, or when you see a bulldozer plowing down a forest, you know, like you feel a sense of loss. You feel something, at least I do, you know, I feel that like something has been torn out of me and I've become less because of this loss. from the perspective of the separate self, that's irrational. Why should I feel that? What does it have to do with me? As long as I can insulate myself from the effects of pollution and all of these other effects, I'm fine. Your health and my health are unconnected. What about the health of the biosphere? Well, no problem. We'll engineer a solution. So this is related to the story of ascent also. And it's the idea that the rest of the world is not fundamentally part of oneself. So, you know, if yeah, maybe it's really polluted, but I can import the most pristine dietary supplements from Iceland and other places, and I can live away from the pollution and build a big fence around my property to keep out the undesirables, and I'll be fine. And what we're learning today is that no matter how carefully we construct this fortress, somehow the hurts of the world find a way in. So, you know, for example, you know, as diseases that are incurable from the perspective of control, autoimmune diseases, cancer, things like that. So we're learning in a lot of ways, and through the science of ecology, even in quantum mechanics, you know, we're learning that this rigid distinction between myself and yourself and the objective universe just isn't true. And spiritually too, we're really starting to understand this, that we're all connected. And in that paradigm, more for me is not less for you anymore. More for you is in fact more for me too, because you and I are not separate. So that's the big story. And so then in my economic thinking, I'm thinking, okay, what kinds of economic systems and what kinds of money systems fit in with this big story? And that leads to all kinds of, I mean, there's many different examples, but anything that connects us and joins us in giving to the earth and in creating with the earth instead of taking from the earth has a place in the new story of money.